I read with sadness this week more revelations about the Gang of Four that managed to finish the job trade unions started back in the 70s with the destruction of our car industry. Gone are all the names once common in most households: Austin, Morris, Singer, Triumph, MG, and Rover. Those companies left are sadly no longer in British hands. The great British icons Rolls-Royce and Bentley, now German. The workhorse of the British forces, Land Rover, and our executive saloon, Jaguar, Indian. Not all the blame can be placed on the greed of those four men. The real destruction took place over 30 years ago, when union power dominated Britain. Trade unions broke the nationalised car industry banks with massive pay demands and churned out nothing more than outdated, unreliable, poor quality built cars. When the unions were done, the British car industry's days were numbered. Were it not for foreign intervention by Honda, Ford and BMW, the British motor industry would have vanished before the turn of the century. All that remains now of the once great British motor industry are badges of those great names and posters that once advertised family cars of tomorrow. It didn't go unnoticed the government threw over £1 trillion to rescue the banking sector, though only 125 million to spare our motor industry. There is no room for heavy industry in Britain. We have become a service nation. I never bought into the idea that Britain would become a service industry nation. It was at the time heartbreaking to see British industry fall like a deck of cards, one after another. Gone were the coal mines, shipyards, steel foundries and ironworks, to be replaced by what? Service industry, they said. We moved from a once great industrial nation into banking, insurance, advertising, tourism, and technology. I often wonder if we were to go to war, who would supply us? Where would we get our guns, bullets, tanks, ships? Practically everything we would need. China? Why not? Everything else seems to come from there. How many times do you pick up anything from a hammer to an electronic item only to read, made in China? Don't we make anything here? Wouldn't it be nice just for once to read, made in Britain? Then of course it wouldn't say that. We're not allowed to say Britain anymore. We are the UK. That is our European designate, UK. It's UK this and UK that. Rarely is Britain ever used as a term anymore. In fact, it's discouraged. When was the last time you heard Britain used on the BBC? I bet you can't remember. The Evening Weather used to paint a picturesque picture of Britain. The weatherman would say, the outlook across the British Isles, or across most parts of Britain. But that's been replaced by the cold, clinical UK designate. across the UK. No matter what the subject, it's always UK. The UK troops, UK subjects, UK education system. We have been swallowed up by the EU superstate and given a title, like it or not. Not that I have anything against our European neighbours, with exception to the French. My grandfather told few stories about his time in the trenches. One of those he did tell was a time when they needed fresh water. There was a farmhouse not far from the lines where he was dispatched to draw water from the well. Arriving at the farmhouse door, they asked, "Can we draw some fresh water from your well?" "Oui," said the French farmer, "but you have to pay." He said, "Pay? We are paying. Paying with lives, dying on French soil. Pay?" He said casually he would trade one Frenchman for a handful of cherries any day. Now we're all good friends. As long as we do as our European masters tell us, it will remain that way. Despite the EU, there is part of Britain that still remains away from major towns and cities. I passed through a village the other day not far from where I live. I thought it to be one of those rare, perfect days. The sun shone with a gentle breeze. I passed by white thatched cottages with cottage gardens that blossomed with an array of colours bordering well-tended lawns. God's green carpet, my dear old Nan would say. God's green carpet. In the centre of the village stood a tall maypole dressed in red and white. Though looking tired, and definitely in need of a bit of paint, it was a welcome sight. On the other side of the green were men dressed in their whites as they played their Sunday game of cricket. Yes, there still is part of Britain that remains true. With the warming sun and the gentle breeze, the sound of leather on willow, is when I imagine that this is what Shakespeare meant when in Richard II he penned, "This royal throne of kings, this sceptred isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself, against infection and the hand of war, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in a silver sea, which serves in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house, against the envy of less happier lands, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England."